I spent a lot of time recently watching a lot of films and reading a lot of novels, but I've noticed a growing melancholy feeling afterwards. As my emotions detach from the story and come back to reality, I'm brought to the realization that, although a little bit smarter, I'm still the same person. I didn't get the girl or defeat the baddie. So in order to combat this melancholy, I'm going to go on my own adventures. To start, I decided to explore the mountains that, no matter where you are in East Melbourne, you can spot them. As I got further away from the city, the trees became taller and the houses grew further apart, each one looking more unique than the last. There's a special sort of wonder that comes from exploring someplace new. I'd almost forgotten the feeling. The walk seemed to amplify this feeling. I think there's a specific type of emotion that comes from adventure. The air was cold and smelled of green. The bottom of the mountain seemed to be packed to the brim with life. It's not hard to see how people came up with supernatural creatures from myth. The forest seemed to be overflowing with life, that it seemed possible that once in a while it could overflow and make something beautiful. I continued on my trek and found a narrower, half-beaten track further along. After walking off track for a while, I came across a man. He had a tape measure, and he was measuring the circumference of the trees. I talked to him, and he said he was looking for the spirit tree. I asked him what the spirit tree was. He said that in the old times people believed that the forest was a god, and that the trees were his angels, and the largest tree of the forest was the leader. They called this tree the spirit tree. It was the shaman's job to find this tree and communicate with it, bringing back the knowledge he gained to the village. I asked him if he had ever talked to a spirit tree. He said no, and he wasn't sure if it was real, but he wanted to find out for himself. I walked back onto the track and followed it to the bridge that overlooked the waterfall. I found a bench nearby which had small golden plaques on it with the names of deceased volunteers who had worked on the forest. It was a strange feeling, that I was benefiting from something that these people had helped to create and preserve. It was almost like they lived in a small way. That everything good in my life had come from people just like them, who all made the world slightly better in their own way, and whose names would eventually be forgotten, but whose actions would live on. Although I didn't talk to a tree spirit or visit a magical land, I experienced a unique sort of beauty that can't be found in a book or a film. I found out that some of life's answers can only be found through first-hand adventure, and I'm excited to see where I go next.